Hello guys, you're welcome to Lacus Farm. Today, in this video, I'll be treating a particular question that many farmers often ask, especially new farmers. The question has been, many occasions you will receive a phone call, "Hello sir, my fishes are not feeding well. I just finished changing their water, they are not feeding well. I just changed their feed and I observed that they are not feeding very well. They are not rushing their feed. Each time I feed them, the feeds are always floating on the water and the fishes are not eating them actively as usual." The major causes of your fishes not actively responding to feeding actively as usual are caused by three major factors. Number one factor is as a result of maybe you have changed their feed. What this means is that previously you have been feeding them with coupon feed, and maybe due to high cost of the feed, and you decided to change to local feed and started using Blue Crown. Now, immediately you change that feed, you don't expect those fishes to rush that feed the same way they have been rushing coupons. What you need to do immediately you want to change their feed, one is to thoroughly wash your ponds very well and refill the ponds with fresh water. Now, when you have done this, don't rush to feed those fishes. Allow those fishes to stay hungry for the meantime. Assuming you have washed and refilled their pond by 7 to 10 a.m. in the morning, don't rush to feed them by 11, 12, 1. What you are going to do is that you are going to leave feeding them those moments and now wait for at least 12 hours or 8 hours. Now, come back in the evening time and feed those fishes. As you are feeding those fishes, you should be very, very observant. The quantity of the feed you have been feeding them before is not what you are going to use. You are going to reduce the quantity of the feed and feed them slightly. Don't just pour the whole feed inside the fish pond and expect them to rush the feed as usual. No. Throw the feed gradually into the pond and watch their reaction to that feed. If you observe that they are not rushing the feed like before, they are not eating it like they normally do, don't worry. Just feed. And once you observe that they are no longer rushing it at all, don't feed them to the extent that the feed will start floating on the water too much. Just allow them to be and go home. In the next day, in the morning, instead of going to feed those fishes by 6 o'clock in the morning, give them little time and go to your farm by 8 o'clock in the morning and feed your fishes. You will now find out that by this time, those fishes are actually very hungry and they have noticed that you have changed their feed and they don't have any other options than to start feeding properly with the new feed. When you apply this method, you find out that those fishes that have not been eating very well for some days that you change their feed will start eating actively well like before. So what you do, if you change their feed without changing their water and giving them time to get used to the feed, you should rush to your farm now, change the water, refill their pond with fresh water, and give them a space of hours, probably 10 to 12, 8 hours, and feed them. As you are feeding them, you feed them lower quantity, not like you have been feeding them before. so that when they don't rush those feed will not be floating on your water and at the end pollute the pond. So you feed them gradually and allow them and come back the next day. You do this just twice, you will find out that you will be the one complaining that your fishes are actually feeding more than usual. So do this and thank me later. The second cause why your fishes might drop down in feeding is as a result of infection. If your pond has been polluted, you will find out that when you go to feed your fishes, you will observe a sluggish movement. You observe that when you throw in the feed for them to feed, the fishes will be coming just sluggishly to feed. They will not rush your feed as they normally do. And if you look around your pond, you find out that your pond is neat and the water is still fresh, but they are not rushing those feed. You find out that this is an early indication to you that your pond is already contaminated and your fishes has been infected with some bacteria. And what you should do at this moment is urgently treat your fishes and as well treat the pond and refill it with fresh water. Now the big question is, what remedy is the best applied when you notice this type of issue in your fish farm? The best and the fastest remedy is bitter leaf solution. What you do at this moment is give your fishes salt bath. When you give them salt bath, you immediately apply bitter leaf solution, and within 48 hours, your fishes will regain themselves and they'll be re-energized and start responding actively to feeding. Now, the third reason why your fishes might stop feeding well and they start feeding sluggishly, and each time you feed them, you find out that the fish are left floating on inside the pond, is this: the size of the feed. Like in my previous videos, I've shown you the sizes of feed you should feed your fishes at each stage of their growth. Take for instance, if these fishes are still on their early stage and they are feeding on 2 mm, and you suddenly, because of the high cost of 2 mm and the high cost of 3 mm, and rush to get 4 mm and start feeding those fishes, you find out that they are not going to feed. You find out that these fishes are not going to feed very well. Many of them will not be able to pick those seeds, because the reason why you are feeding them we are feeding them those smaller sizes is because of their stage of their growth. That is why you will find out that some fishes in your pond, you will see they will not die, but they will not grow because they are not feeding. So the size of the feed you give to your fishes at the same time determines the activeness of their feeding. There are many other factors that can lead to your fishes to not respond to feeding, but these three major factors, if you treat them very well, you'll find out that other factors are auxiliary and they do not actually affect the feeding pattern of your fish so drastically. So in this video, I'll be stopping here, and I believe you have learned one or two things here to do whenever you observe that your fishes are not feeding properly. Like the last one I said, what to do is change their feed, go back to 2 mm, gradually graduate to 3 mm. Don't rush from 2 mm to 4 mm because of the high cost of feed. You will at the same time be doing yourself much harm than good. So do this and thank me later. Please like this video and share it for it to reach wider audience, because a lot of farmers are battling with this issue, and this video will go a long way providing solution to them. So please share it widely. Thank you.